ஆழ்வார் எம்பெருமானார் ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம். ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம். லோகாச்சாரியாய குரவே கிருஷ்ண பாதஸ்ய சூனவே சம்சார போகி சந்தஷ்ட ஜீவ ஜீவாதவே நமஹ. Pillai Lokacharya is greatly glorified. His Rahasya Granthams are like the medicine for those who are struggling in this samsara, being bitten by a snake, a poisonous snake. Pillai Lokacharya mercifully composed many Rahasya Granthams. He documented all of them and presented these wonderful Granthams for the benefit of everyone. Manavala Mamanigal has taken most important Rahasya Granthams of Pillai Lokacharya and has given very elaborate commentaries for those important Rahasya Granthams. All the Granthams are important, certainly, but certain Granthams are considered as most important because they are very comprehensive in nature, and Manavala Mamanigal himself identifies in the introduction of Mumukshupadi, which we saw last time. He said, because of these specific Granthams, in this particular context he was speaking about Mumukshupadi, as this particular Grantham Mumukshupadi has all the information which was left out in previous other Granthams, and this Grantham being most comprehensive, this is greatly desired by the Acharyas and was studied properly with the Vyakyanam, with the commentary, so that we get the foundational knowledge very clearly. So such are the most important Granthams such as Mumukshupadi, Tattvatrayam, Sri Vachanabhushanam. These three Granthams of Pillai Lokacharya are considered as Kalakshepa Granthams. And apart from these three Granthams, for which Manavala Mamanigal has written elaborate commentaries, there is also Acharya Hridayam, which is considered another important Grantham, Rahasya Grantham, for which also Manavala Mamanigal has written beautiful elaborate commentary. So these four Granthams are considered as the lifeline for Sri Vaishnavas, and everyone is expected to study the meanings of these Granthams in detail. Of these, now we are starting to go through Mumukshupadi. We have seen the introduction in the last session. In the introduction session, we have seen the importance, greatness of Pillai Lokacharya, greatness of Mamanigal. We also seen the introduction given by Mamanigal for the Mumukshupadi Grantham itself, which covers many aspects like how Bhagavan is mercifully trying to give the knowledge to everyone. He is giving us two streams of knowledge: the knowledge which is coming through the Shastram, that is Vedam, which is Vedam itself is considered as very huge treatise of knowledge. It is the main knowledge base for all of us who are following the Sanatana Dharmam, Vaidika tradition. And then the second stream is the Rahasyatraya stream. So the first stream is the Vedam, which is revealed by Bhagavan in every Srishti. First he teaches Vedam to Brahma, who in turn teaches Vedam to all others. And it goes through Parampara. Vedam is always taught from one person to another person. And there are a lot of qualifications which are required to learn and practice Vedam. The qualifications such as one has to be a Traivarnika, that is Brahmana, Kshatriya or Vaishya. One has to be a male. One has to have gone through the Yajnopavidam ceremony, Brahmopadesham from a particular person, mostly the father himself would do the Brahmopadesham, and then one should have gone to a Guru, Acharya, and studied the Vedam properly. And the Vedam can only be recited on certain times of the year, certain times of the day, and so on. So in reciting the Vedams, practicing the Vedams also there are many restrictions. Unlike this, the second stream, which is the Rahasyatraya stream, which is again mercifully initiated by Bhagavan himself. For both the streams, Vedam based stream also, Bhagavan is the Prathama Guru. For Rahasyatraya based stream also, Bhagavan is the Prathama Guru, the first Guru. For the Rahasyatrayam, he teaches Rahasyatrayam at various places to various personalities, and that was highlighted in the introduction session. Tirumantram, Ashtaksharam, that was taught by Bhagavan himself as Narayana Rishi to Nara Rishi in Badarikashramam. That was the time when Tirumantram was revealed. Sri Mahalakshmi is the first recipient of Dvaya Mahamantram, which is the second Rahasyam. And the third Rahasyam is Charmashlokam, Gita Charmashlokam. This was revealed by Bhagavan as Krishna to Arjuna in the battlefield of Mahabharata. So these three Rahasyams are in one side, and then Vedam is in the other side. We have already seen Vedam has many qualifications which are required for the persons who learn and teach and persons who practice and so on. For the Rahasyatraya stream, the knowledge again is transmitted through the Guru Parampara to us from Bhagavan. It is given to Sri Mahalakshmi Tayar, and from Sri Mahalakshmi it was transmitted to Vishwaksena, and then from there to Nammalvar, Shatakop Swami, and then Sriman Natha Munigal and so on. So this Rahasya Traya is coming also in the Parampara. The main difference between Rahasya Traya and Vedam is we saw that there are so many qualifications to learn Vedam, but in the case of Rahasya Trayam, everyone is qualified. Nobody is excluded from learning Rahasya Trayam. As long as one has the desire, one can approach the Acharya, get initiated, get the mantrams and get the knowledge from the Acharya. So there is no discrimination, no difference between whether one is Brahmana, Kshatriya, one has male or female or Indian, Western, any wealthy or poor. No such discrimination is practiced. Anyone can learn Rahasya Trayam and anyone can practice it also. Everyone becomes qualified once the person is initiated in the Sampradaya, in the tradition, to practice this Rahasya Traya. Vedam has so many qualifications because it is restricted. It is a it is a knowledge which is for both the combination of soul and body, Atma and Deham. All the Vaidika rituals engage some bodily activity, and hence this Vedam is specifically for the combination of Atma and Shariram. But Rahasyatrayam, on the other hand, is solely focused on Atma. That is why it is easily made available for every Atma, because there is no dependence on the body for the Rahasyatrayam. It is an activity of the mind. For example, even the surrender which we do, it's an activity at the mind level which is more important than the physical aspects. Hence, this Rahasyatrayam is open for all those who are initiated. Even Rahasyatrayam is Rahasyam, it is confidential, it is not discussed in public, it is not given out to those who are not initiated. But anyone who gets initiated, anyone who has the craving, they can always learn the Rahasyatrayam and become uplifted, become liberated. So this Rahasyatrayam is the second stream. Now, as the Vedam is Anadhi, as the Vedam is only revealed by Bhagavan, similarly Rahasyatrayam is also Anadi. It is also revealed by Bhagavan again and again whenever there is a need. So there are some similarities and there are some differences between Rahasya tradition and Vaidika tradition. Rahasya tradition is not something which is outside Vaidika tradition, it is also the essence of Vaidika tradition. So whatever is in Vedam, it is huge. Vedam is said to be Ananta vai Vedaha. So because our human's capability is not sufficient to grasp everything in Vedam and analyze the various sections and reconcile the different variations and different contradictory statements, to understand all of them it is very difficult to do. Hence this Rahasyatrayam is very, very clear. It brings out the essence of Vedam, and this is propagated by Bhagavan for the benefit of everyone, irrespective of their qualification, irrespective of their ability and so on. Those who are desirous can take up this path and be liberated. So all of these were seen in the introduction session in the last time. We also see that Pillai has already explained in Shriyapatipadi, Yadrichikapadi and Parandapadi in 3 granthams about this Rahasyatrayam, but Mahamunigal explains why there was a need for Mumukshupadi, where a really comprehensive, at the same time easy to understand grantham was required, and that is what Pillai felt after writing those 3 other granthams on the Rahasyatrayam. He thought that he still need to give some more clarity, and he needs to still simplify the concept and present it so that everyone can understand it. Not just scholars can understand, everyone can understand it. Hence Pillai gave this Mumukshupadi. So all of these were seen in the first session. Now we are going to start with the actual Grantham. We'll start from the beginning. We'll go through each Sutram. We will see the Sutram, we will see the basic meaning of the Sutram, simple English meaning, and then we will see the essential highlights and important points from Manavara Mamunigal's commentary, and that will give us good insight about the Grantham. It will be very difficult to do like a word by word translation in this particular exercise because it will stretch the time limit. So let us see the important points in each of the Sutram. We will not miss any of the important points in each of the Sutrams, and with the blessings and grace of Pillai Lokacharya and Manavada Mamnigal. Let us commence the effort here. So first sutram is Pillai Lokacharya explaining what is the essential aspects, what are the essential aspects to be certainly known by any mumukshu. That is the first sutram. Sutram is Mumukshuvuku அறிய வேண்டும் ரகசியம் 3. The simple translation would be for a mumukshu. Mumukshu means a liberation seeker. அறிய வேண்டும் ரகசியம், the confidential aspects which must be known. 3. So Pillai Lokacharya in this sutram is saying that 3 rahasyams, 3 confidential secrets must be known by mumukshu. This is the sutram. Sutram will be very short generally. There are larger sutrams, but generally the sutram will be crisp and short, and the commentary will give more insight on what the sutram is talking about. Let us see Mamnigal's commentary here. First, he explains who is a mumukshu. He is explaining that the particular person who is explained as mumukshu in this particular sutram is not just general liberation seeker. He is explaining that this particular person, mumukshu here, is one who is desiring to serve Bhagavan eternally. So when it comes to, we saw that mumukshu means liberation seeker, one who seeks moksham. Moksham can be 2 different kinds, 2 different types. One is Kaivalya moksham and the other is Paramapurushartha Lakshana moksham. Kaivalya moksham is exclusive enjoyment of the Atma. That is Kaivalya moksham. That is being freed from all the worldly attachments, worldly bondage, and just enjoying the Atma alone, separately. This is also explained as moksham only in Shastram. Especially our Alvars and Acharyas have clearly stated that this Kaivalya moksham is also irrevocable moksham. That if one becomes a liberated person into Kaivalyam, he will stay in that stage forever. That is the principle explained by our Acharyas. The next moksham is Paramapurushartha Lakshana moksham. Paramapurushartha Lakshana moksham means, Paramapurushartha means the ultimate goal. Purushartha means the goal which is seeked by a Purusha. Paramapurushartha means the ultimate goal, and that Paramapurushartha is serving Bhagavan eternally. That is because it is the nature of the Atma to serve always. Atma by nature is a servitor. We are going to see all the pramanams in subsequent sutrams for all of these. Atma by nature is a servitor and Bhagavan is the Lord. He is the one who is going to accept the service. Now we can choose to serve him directly or we can choose to serve him indirectly. If we are truly realized, if we are truly knowledgeable, we will choose to serve him directly in Parampadam eternally without having to worry about our material bondage and all of that. So that moksham of being freed from all the material attachments, material bondage, and reaching Sri Vaikuntham, Paramapadam, and serving Bhagavan there is called the ultimate liberation, ultimate moksham, Bhagavat Kaikarya moksham. Kaikarya means service, eternal devotional service, and here that Bhagavat Kainkaryam is the ultimate stage, ultimate goal for the Atma. So only for such person who is fully interested in serving Bhagavan eternally, Rahasya Trayam will be applicable. That is what is first established by Mamunigal. He says, even though for the Atma Prapti Kama, the one who is desiring Atma Prapti, that is Kaivalya Moksham, even for him, Moksham, that is Samsara Vimochanam, that is being liberated from the world, material world, is desirable. For him also Moksham is desirable, but for him, all of these subsequent aspects will not be applicable. For example, in the Dvaya Mahamantram or even in Tirumantram, we are going to see that Narayanaya means one will be serving Bhagavan. Service to Bhagavan is indicated by the Shabda Aya. But for the Kaivalya Moksham, the one who is seeking Kaivalya Moksham, there is no scope for that. He is not seeking that particular aspect of Kainkaryam. So for him, this Rahasya Trayam will not be applicable. So he can also go through Kaivalya Moksham seeker also can go through Jnana Yogam. Generally Jnana Yogam is earmarked for Kaivalya Moksha Adhikaris, those who are practicing Jnana Yogam. They are generally in the arena of seeking Kaivalya Moksham. So for them, just the knowledge about the world being temporary and Bhagavan being permanent. See, even for, the Shastram is clearly saying that even for Kaivalya Moksham, one needs to accept that there is Bhagavan and Bhagavan is the ultimate, Ishvara. But they will go to Bhagavan, this Kaivalya Moksharthi, the one who seeks Kaivalya Moksha, and he will say, I want to just enjoy my Atma, myself. And Bhagavan will have no other choice than giving that fruit to that person, that individual, because Bhagavan gives free will to every individual soul, individual Atma. So for him, there is no Rahasya Traya desire for such a Kaivalyarthi. He is only looking to enjoy himself. And hence, only the one who is seeking Kainkaryam to Bhagavan is highlighted here in this particular sutram, and the whole Grantham Mumukshupadi, the term Mumukshu is indicating only those who are seeking eternal Kainkaryam to Bhagavan. So first Mamnigal explains clearly who is the audience for this Grantham. Only who is sincerely seeking exclusive service to Bhagavan Sriman Narayana and no one else, only such person is qualified and who is meant for this particular Grantham. That is what is established by Bhagavan here. And then Ariya Vendum Rahasya 3, that is explained subsequently. There are three things such Mumukshu should understand. Mamnigal explains that in the commentary. Nyatavyam. Nyatavyam means that which should be known. And that is Swarupa, Upaya and Purushartham. These three must be known by the person who is having the desire to attain moksham, that is, reach Sri Vaikuntham and serve Bhagavan eternally. Here Swarupam is the true nature of self as well as true nature of Bhagavan. So these two must be clearly understood. So that is first thing which should be understood. And then Upaya. Upaya means the path, the process. That must be also understood by such person. And finally Purushartha. Purushartha is the ultimate goal. What is the end goal? That should be understood by the individual. So these three are to be known by such mumukshus. And these three are present clearly and precisely in this Rahasya Trayam. And that is why for the mumukshu, the Rahasyam is to be understood. The Rahasya Trayam must be understood. So because Swarupa, Upaya and Purushartha must be known by mumukshus, and because Swarupa, Upaya, Purushartha are clearly explained in the Rahasyatraya. This Rahasyatraya knowledge is mandatory for mumukshus. So that is clearly explained here. And then there is a particular pramanam is quoted. Swajnanam, Prapagyanam, Pratyajnanam, Mumukshubhihi, Jnanatrayam Upadeyam, Yetadanyanna Kinchana. So this pramanam explains that for a mumukshu, this knowledge about self, knowledge about the means and knowledge about the goal is mandatory. So here it is also, Mamnigal also explicitly says here Rahasyam Mundru, that is 3 Rahasyams, that is, what are those 3 Rahasyams? Tirumantram, Dvaya Mahamantram, Charma Shlokam, and that is also clear by the subsequent sutrams. Mamnigal says that in here Pillai is saying only Rahasyam, but what are those Rahasyams are subsequently explained clearly, explicitly, so that is also available. And finally he explains why this is called Rahasyam, why these are secrets, why these are confidential, why not just like for example Divya Prabandhams or other Samanya Shastram which can be learnt by everyone. Why these are called Rahasyams? That is because Vedanta Sarartha Pratipadanataya, Pratipadagataya, Paramaguhya. So Mamnigal says this Rahasyatrayam is bringing out the essence of Vedanta Saram. All the Veda and Vedanta, all of that are put together and the essence is extracted and given in the form of Rahasyatraya. So in the beginning we saw that there are 2 streams. There is the Veda stream and then there is Rahasyatraya stream. It is not that Rahasyatrayam is something which is outside Vedam. It is also Vaidika Sampradayam only. We in fact follow Vedam and Vedantam better than any other Vaidikas would follow because we understand the essence clearly. So we understand the internal meanings clearly, hence we will also follow the Vaidika Matham with more vigor and with better understanding. So it is, but it is a very secretive information which is the essence of Vedanta, hence it is highlighted, it is said as Rahasyam. So this is the first sutram. In this particular sutram, Pillai determines who is the adhikari, the qualified person to listen to this Rahasyatraya, and he is also establishing what is to be known in this Rahasyam. So these aspects are highlighted in the first sutram. So we can see in the first sutram itself, which is very very small, but we have spent a fair amount of time to understand these principles because each sutram is every sutram is very very deep. But Gambhiryam is there, very very profound and very deep meanings are there. We will see how best we can cover all the aspects. So that is the first sutram. Now we will move on to the second sutram. In the second sutram, Pillai is explaining which is the primary Rahasyam, which is the foremost Rahasyam among the Rahasyatrayam. Because we saw that there are 3 Rahasyams, and now in the second sutram, Pillai is saying which is the first foremost Rahasya. Sutram is, second sutram, Adil Prathama Rahasyam Tirumantram. So here he is saying among the 3 Rahasyams, Prathama Rahasyam, the first and foremost Rahasyam is Tirumantram, the Ashtakshara Mantram. Mamnigal gives very beautiful commentary here. Here Mamnigal starts off the commentary saying the Tirumantram is considered as the foremost because for the particular recipient, for the particular qualified adhikari, the first and foremost rahasyam, that is this Tirumantram, gives, this particular rahasyam gives whatever the true nature one should have clarity about, what is to be given up and what is to be pursued. These three aspects are clearly explained in this particular Tirumantram, in this Ashtaksharam. Hence, it is considered as the foremost. So, this Tirumantram is explaining the true nature in depth. It is explaining what is to be given up and it is explaining what is to be pursued by the self. Hence, it is considered as the foremost, and it is talking about the three important aspects of the Atma, the three important states of the Atma, which are most important and which are explained by the Tirumantram as part of this Swarupam. For the Atma, the true nature to be clearly understood, and the true nature has three particular aspects, that is Ananyarha Sheshatvam, Ananya Sharanatvam, Ananya Bhogyatvam. So these three aspects are highlighted as the three important aspects of the true nature of the self. So what are these three? Ananyarha Sheshatvam. For the Atma, the first quality is to be totally subservient to Bhagavan, exclusively subservient to Bhagavan. Sheshi means master, Shesha means servant, or it can be seen also as primary and secondary. So Bhagavan is the primary focus and we are all ancillary, we are all secondary. So this particular aspect, Ananyarha Sheshatvam, is the first quality which is expected out of a truly realized Atma. Second is Ananya Sharanatvam. Ananya Sharanatvam means Atma must have Bhagavan as the exclusive refuge. One should be surrendered to Bhagavan only. That is another important quality. And third quality is Ananya Bhogyatvam. Ananya Bhogyatvam means present exclusively for the joy of Bhagavan. Generally, Ananya Bhogyatvam will be said as only enjoying Bhagavan. That is the true nature of Atma. Atma should not enjoy any worldly pleasures or anything in this world, or even Atma should not enjoy self, as we saw in Kaivalya Moksham. But the deeper meaning of Ananya Bhogyatvam is Atma's existence is only for the pleasure of Bhagavan, not for anything else. So both can be applicable. One can say that Atma should only enjoy Bhagavan and nothing else, but more importantly, Atma should only present itself to be enjoyed by Bhagavan exclusively. So these three are clearly explained as part of the Swarupam. And matching that Swarupam, what is Tyajya and what is Upadeya, what is to be given up and what is to be pursued, these are also explained clearly. Suspashta. Mamunigal is using the word Suspashta. That means in this mantram it is very clear. Suspashta means very clear. That is, what is to be given up, we will see in detail about all of that. That self-centered effort that must be given up, and what is to be pursued, exclusive service for the pleasure of Bhagavan must be pursued. So these three, the Swarupam, what is to be given up, what is to be accepted, what is to be pursued, these are all clearly explained in Tirumantram. Hence it is called as first and foremost Rahasyam. So there is nothing wrong in saying that, says Mamunigal. Now, when we say this, there is the explanation, further explanation given by Mamunigal in this Sutram. Another insight in this, where he compares all the three Rahasyams together. He explains how Mamnigal explains how the Tirumantram is the base for Dvaya Mahamantram and Charma Shlokam. He gives an example for that for us to understand from the Tirumantram itself. In the Tirumantram, first part is Pranavam. Akara, Ukara, Makara joined together is Pranavam. And Namaha and Narayanaya in Tirumantram are known as Mantra Shesham, that residue or remainder of the mantram. So mantram is full mantram, Ashtakshari mantram. Of that, Pranavam is the first portion and Namaha and Narayanaya are the subsequent portions. The Pranavam is elaborately explained in Mantra Shesham, says Mamnigal. Just like that, similarly, Tirumantram is explained in Dvaya Mahamantram and Dvaya Mahamantram is further explained in Charma Shlokam. Even in this particular viewpoint, Tirumantram is considered as the foremost because Tirumantram is the foundation. Dvaya Mahamantram is explanation for Tirumantram. Charma Shlokam is further explanation for Dvaya Mahamantram. So all of these are interrelated, yet Tirumantram is foremost. Considering all of these in his divine heart, Pillai Lokacharya says Tirumantram is Pratama Rahasyam. Now, Mamnigal explains why this is known as mantram. Yes, that is another thing which we need to know. Because mantram has a particular definition. Does Tirumantram or Ashtaksharam fit that definition? That is the question here, and Mamnigal explains that beautifully. We have to look at how Mamnigal has explained in this particular Grantham and in all other Granthams in his commentaries. Without the commentaries of Mamnigal, we cannot understand any of these details. We will just say Adil Pratama Rahasyam Tirumantram, and then we think, okay, this is the foremost of mantrams. But why is it explained as foremost of mantrams? If not for Mamnigal going in great detail and explaining these with all these examples and explanations, we would not have understood the full purport of it. That is the greatness of Mamnigal. Each and every word he takes, each and every word of Pillai Lokacharya he takes, and without leaving even an aksharam, he is giving the importance of each word in Pillai Lokacharya's sutrams. So here he is talking about why this is called mantram. So he first explains the definition of mantra. Mantaram trayata iti mantraha. A mantram is that which protects one who meditates upon that. That is the explanation for mantram, the word mantram. So here he is also explaining further that both by Shabda Shakti and Artha Bodhanam, the mantram as it is without even the meaning has potency. Shabda Shakti, the word itself is potent. Word or the phrase itself is potent. That it is potent that the person who recites or who meditates upon that mantram will be protected. That is one aspect. The second aspect, Artha Bodhanam, by revealing the meaning, by showing the meaning of the particular mantram. Each mantra will have its meaning. No mantram is meaningless. Every mantra will have its own meaning. For those who meditate upon the meaning of the mantra, they are also protected. So, one who just chants the mantra, he is protected. One who meditates upon the meaning of the mantra, he is also protected. And that is the definition of mantra. Mantra means mantaram trayati iti mantraha. That which protects the person who meditates upon or who engages in that is called mantram. So that definition is given by Mamnigal. And he is explaining beautifully how it engages and how it protects the different types of adhikaris. For example, one who chants the mantra as japa, or who uses this mantra in homa and all of that, how mantra protects such persons and who are such persons. And then there is the other category, one who meditates upon the meaning of the mantra and how that mantra protects such persons. That is explained subsequently by Mamunigal. Here he says, Shabda Shaktiyale Rakshakam, mantra will protect those upasakas. Upasakas are those who are karma yoga nishta, jnana yoga nishta, bhakti yoga nishta, and other, those who follow other means, other upayams which are shown in Shastram. There are so many paths, so many processes shown in Shastram. Karma yogam, jnana yogam, bhakti yogam are generally taken as the prime ones, but there are others like Nama Sankirtanam is there, Dividesha Vasam is there, and then there is lighting lamps in Sannidhi as a particular activity, making garlands for Bhagavan, knowing Purushottama Vidya, knowing the true nature of Bhagavan. These are all different means which are shown in Shastram, and for such persons who are pursuing those means, the mantra will help with its Shabda Shakti, with the potency of the words themselves. So the mantra, for example, it is explained subsequently also. Someone recites Garuda mantra, he doesn't know the meaning of the Garuda mantra, but reciting the Garuda mantra towards a person who is bitten by a snake, that will give relief to the person who is bitten by a snake. That poison will be eliminated if the mantra is learnt and recited properly. So there it will not check, the mantra will not check whether the person has knowledge about the mantra or not. It will give some benefit out of it. So there is protection based on just the words themselves in the mantra. And then he says, Mamunigal says, for those who are considering Ishvara as the Upaya and Upeya, those who are considering Bhagavan as the means and the end, means and the goal. All of us, for example, we all surrender to Acharya, and through Acharya we approach Bhagavan, and hence for all of us Bhagavan is the means and Bhagavan is the goal. For such persons, and here he identifies them as Prapannas. For Prapannas, the mantra will help through the meditation of the meaning. So here Mamunigal clearly establishes that the Prapannas will not engage in japa and homa like the upasakas. Prapannas may also engage in japa and homa, but their focus is on the meaning only. They are not depending on the Shabda Shakti, they are depending on the Artha Bodhanam only. Sometimes, for some people, the reason here is meaning, meditation upon the meaning can be done even by a dumb person, even someone who is mute, who is not able to speak. Such person can also understand the meaning and he can meditate in the mind. So this is a Atma related activity. This is a activity or something which depends on the mind level surrender. For such persons, for such prapannas, the mantras are only used in the context of meditating upon the meanings. And for the upasakas, for those who are engaged in other means, whether it is karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, tirunam sankirtanam, or any other means, deshavasam, if they are considering all of that to be their means, for them this Shabda Shakti will help. So that is explained here. Now further Mamunigal explains how it will protect in the context of knowing the meaning. That revelation of the meaning, how does that help the individual? And that is explained using the shlokam from Parashara Bhatta's Ashtashloki. It's a beautiful shlokam. Dehasaktatma buddhihi yadi bhavati padam sadhu vidya tridiyam swatantriyando yadi syat pratamam itara sheshatva diche dvitiyam atmatrana unmukacche namaidisha padam bandhavavasa lolaha shabdam narayanagyam Vishaya Chapaladishchet Chaturtim Prapanna. This is a very beautiful shlokam where in this shlokam Parashara Bhatta explains how the meanings of the Tirumantram, each section of the Tirumantram will bring clarity in the individual's mind, and that individual will be very safe in not considering any other worldly attachment, any other attachment which is contrary to the nature of the individual. So here Dehatma Abhimanam, Swatantriyam, Anyasheshatvam, Swarakshane Swanmayam, Abandhu Sangam, Vishaya Pravanyam. These 6 aspects are eliminated if we understand the meaning of the Tirumantram. And we are going to see how all of that will line up, but we can see briefly here. For example, first Dehatma Abhimanam should be given up, and that is understood by Makaram in the Pranavam. So in Tirumantram each part is separated here, and there are 6 parts identified here, and these 6 parts relate to eliminating one particular confusion. So first he says Deha Sattatma Buddhir Yadi Bhavati Padam Sadhu Vidya Tritiyam. So this third aksharam in the Pranavam, that is the first part of Tirumantram, that Makaram, if we understand Makaram clearly, then we will understand that we are not this body, because Makaram identifies to the Atma, and Makaram says that we are not this body, we are not this mind, we are not this our limbs, we are not intellect. It is established in this Makaram term that it is the Atma. So if we have clarity in Makaram, then we will not have Dehatma Abhimanam. Similarly, when we understand Akaram, the first letter in the Pranavam, then we will understand that we are not Swatantra, we are not independent. We will understand that we are totally dependent on Bhagavan, because Bhagavan is the only Swatantra. When we understand Bhagavan is the only Swatantra, we will not be confused that we are independent. And then there is Anyasheshatvam. When we understand Ukara, then we will understand that we are exclusively subservient to Bhagavan only. So that Anyasheshatvam, to be servitor of somebody else, will be eliminated if we understand clearly the term, the particular section of Tirumantram, that is Ukaram. And then there is Swarakshane Swanvayam, protecting ourselves. When we understand Namaha, when that Padam Namaha in Tirumantram is understood clearly, then we will understand that we are not going to be able to protect ourselves. And then when we understand the Padam Narayana, the word Narayana in the Tirumantram, we will understand that all our relatives, they are all bodily relatives, and attachment towards them is useless, because Narayana means Bhagavan Sriman Narayana is the true relative, natural relative for us. So when we understand that concept, we will understand that all other relatives are just superficial. So that attachment will be removed. And finally, Vishaya Pravanyam, that is engaging in worldly activities. When we understand the term Aya, clearly, that we are supposed to serve Bhagavan, our existence is for serving Bhagavan, then we will not have the inclination to be engaged in the worldly pleasures, serve unqualified persons. So these 6 principles are cleared, these confusions are cleared by constantly meditating upon the meaning of Tirumantram. So this Tirumantram is helping Prapannas exclusively by the meaning. Unlike for the Upasakas, where the Shabda Shakti is leveraged and used by them, because many people will engage in Tirumantra, even they do Ashtakshara Homam, they are doing Ashtakshara Japam, all of that are done. But our Acharyas have clearly explained that it is helping the Prapannas, those Sharanagatas who have approached Bhagavan through an Acharya, in the way of revealing the meanings in the Tirumantram, in the meanings, with the help of the meanings, it is helping us. It is protecting us. So this is protection really. Protection means knowing what the pitfalls and staying away from that. That is explained in this second sutram. I think we've reached about 50 minutes. So we will continue on in the next session. I will stop here. Alvar Emberumanar Jiyar Tiruvadigalai Sharanam, Jiyar Tiruvadigalai Sharanam.
To learn such valuable information about our Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, please download KOYIL, KOYIL app from Google Play Store or Apple App Store. Our website is koyil.org, KOYIL.org.